Michelle enjoyed the quiet evening in her Austin home. The dim living room felt like a perfect sanctuary after a long day. Then, a sudden vibration shattered the peace. Her phone screen lit up with rapid, demanding messages from an unknown profile. The stranger knew exactly what she was doing. The glowing green dot on her screen proved the watcher was tracking her every move in real time. Panic threatened to rise, but Michelle took a deep breath. She refused to let fear win. The invasion of her digital space demanded a calm, decisive response. How would she protect her home without losing her connection to the world? The night air outside remained completely still. Michelle sat in the dim living room of her Austin home. The quiet evening felt like a perfect sanctuary after a long day. Soft shadows danced across the walls, bringing a sense of deep peace to the retired choreographer. She held her phone loosely in her lap, enjoying the absolute stillness of the house. Suddenly, a sharp vibration broke the heavy silence. The screen illuminated the dark room with a harsh, cold light, casting long reflections on the wooden floor. A new message appeared from an anonymous profile. Then came another, and another. The rapid notifications flooded the glass surface in a relentless wave. Michelle leaned forward, her calm routine instantly disrupted by the digital intrusion. The text demanded immediate action. The unknown sender used aggressive, shaming language, insisting she close the laptop and log off the network immediately. The words were sharp and unforgiving. The cold light from the screen reflected in her wide eyes. She felt entirely exposed in her own living room. The sanctuary she had built over decades was suddenly compromised by a stranger hiding behind a screen. The messages referenced a highly specific detail. The sender pointed directly to the green glowing dot on her profile. This tiny indicator proved the stranger was watching her active status in real time. The watcher knew she was online right now, sitting in the dark. The invasive presence felt suffocating. The green dot flickered on the screen, pulsing like a steady heartbeat in the quiet room. Michelle felt a sudden chill run down her spine. Her thumb hovered over the glass, hesitating. The stranger demanded total compliance, weaponizing her own digital footprint against her deep sense of safety. The pressure to obey was immense and entirely unnatural. The rapid texts kept arriving, each one more urgent and threatening than the last. She looked at the family photos on the mantle. Her sanctuary was supposed to be safe. Her breathing grew shallow for a brief moment. The sheer audacity of the intrusion was hard to process. This was not a simple wrong number or a mistaken identity. This was deliberate. She watched the green dot pulse again. "Who sees me?" she whispered to the empty room. Her pulse slowed into a steady, deliberate rhythm as she forced herself to breathe. She stared at the glowing text, realizing the threat was not just a random glitch or a simple mistake. The anonymous watcher knew her exact real-time activity. The digital boundary of her peaceful home had been breached. The glowing screen demanded an answer, and the heavy tension in the room only grew thicker with every passing second.
Michelle closed the laptop lid with a soft click, severing the harsh glare. The sudden darkness in the living room felt like a deep, necessary breath. She sat in the quiet, letting her pulse settle into a steady rhythm. The aggressive messages had demanded immediate compliance, using shaming words and the impossible reality of real-time tracking. She recognized the patterns clearly now. It was a trap designed to induce panic and force a mistake. She remembered her daughter Dakota sitting at this very table months ago, patiently showing her how to navigate the hidden menus of the platform. Dakota had always emphasized control over fear, teaching her that true safety came from understanding the tools. Michelle opened the laptop again, but this time she did not look at the demanding messages. She navigated directly to the official privacy settings. Her fingers moved with deliberate calm across the keyboard. The glowing screen cast a soft blue light over her focused face. The keys clicked softly in the quiet room. Each keystroke was a deliberate choice, a step away from the panic the stranger wanted to force upon her. She ignored the flashing red notification badges. They were meaningless now. She found the active status toggle and switched it to invisible. The glowing indicator vanished from the screen. Next, she located the anonymous profile and selected block. The screen refreshed, clean, and entirely silent. The digital boundary was finally restored. Footsteps sounded softly on the hardwood floor. Luke walked into the dim room, his presence a warm, grounding anchor in the quiet house. He stopped beside her chair and placed a gentle, reassuring hand on her shoulder. "They want me to panic," Michelle said, her voice steady as she looked up at him. Luke squeezed her shoulder, his eyes reflecting the soft ambient light of the room. "This house is safe," he murmured. The warmth of his hand grounded her in the physical reality of the room. The digital world faded into the background, replaced by the solid presence of her husband and the familiar scent of his coffee. She turned back to the dark screen, feeling a profound sense of reclaimed independence. "I am taking my space back," she whispered. She took a slow, deep breath, letting the cool evening air fill her lungs. The panic was entirely gone now. In its place was a quiet, unshakable resolve. She was the master of her own home, and no digital ghost could change that fact. The heavy tension that had gripped the room dissolved to a peaceful stillness. Her sanctuary was secure once more. Yet, as she listened to the quiet hum of the house, she wondered if the watcher would simply fade away, or if blinding them had only made them more determined to find another way in.
Morning sunlight poured through the large windows of the Austen living room, casting warm golden squares across the polished wooden floor. Michelle sat in her favorite worn armchair, enjoying the quiet start to the day. The heavy tension of the previous night had finally faded into a peaceful stillness. She held her tablet loosely in her lap, sipping from a plain white ceramic mug. The house was completely silent, save for the soft, familiar hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. She felt entirely secure in her sanctuary, believing the digital walls she had built were strong enough to keep the outside world at bay. Suddenly, a sharp chime broke the morning calm. The tablet screen illuminated her face with a cold, bright glare, cutting through the warm sunlight. Michelle lowered her mug, her eyes narrowing at the display. A new notification had appeared from a completely blank profile. There was no name, no picture, just an empty digital shell waiting in her inbox. She tapped the message to read it. The text was short, sharp, and deeply invasive. It read, "The dot is hidden, but the room is not empty." A brief spike of cold tension gripped her chest. The stranger had bypassed the block entirely. They were not just watching the active status anymore. They were tracking the absence. The missing indicator was proof enough of presence in the room. The watcher was monitoring the exact moment the device went offline, using the silence as a confirmation of physical location. The digital boundary rebuilt the night before was breached once again, leaving her feeling exposed in her own home. The morning air suddenly felt too thin, and the warm sunlight offered no comfort against the invisible eyes watching every move. Michelle closed her eyes. She forced her breathing to slow, matching the steady, unhurried rhythm of the morning. She refused to let panic take root. The fear was a trap, and she would not step into it. She opened her eyes, her gaze steady and focused on the glowing screen. Simply hiding was no longer enough. The invisible shield had failed. She needed to erase the digital footprint entirely to protect the home. Soft footsteps echoed on the hardwood floor. Luke walked into the sunlit room, carrying a fresh cup of tea. He stopped beside the chair, his expression calm and observant. He looked at the bright screen, then down at her face. He did not ask what the message said. He simply offered the warm cup, silently asking if she was ready to take the final step. Michelle took the tea, her hands perfectly steady. She looked out the window at the quiet street, knowing the real work of reclaiming peace was just beginning. Michelle took a slow, deliberate breath. The morning sun warmed her hands as she opened the official settings menu on the trusted tablet. Her fingers moved with steady precision across the glass. She navigated past the familiar menus, ignoring the lingering shadow of the blank profile, and found the deep privacy section. She selected permanent account deactivation. A stark warning prompt appeared on the screen, asking if she was absolutely sure about losing all connections and memories. She did not hesitate. She tapped the final confirmation button. "I am closing the door," Michelle said, her voice calm and resolute in the quiet room. The screen faded to a blank white login page. The digital footprint was entirely gone.
The glowing green dot was dead. She watched the white screen for a long moment, letting the reality of the decision settle over her. The absence of the glowing indicator felt like a physical weight lifting from her shoulders. Luke stepped closer, his presence a quiet anchor in the sunlit living room. He looked at the blank screen, then down at her steady hands. "No more dots," he noted softly. "Just peace," she replied, setting the device face down on the wooden table. The heavy silence of the house returned. For a brief moment, the sanctuary felt truly secure. The invasive watcher was completely blinded, locked out of the only world known to them. The digital ghost was gone, erased from the platform just as intended. The screen remained blank, offering no further demands or threats. She picked up the warm mug of tea, ready to enjoy the reclaimed morning. But as she took a slow sip, a sharp vibration echoed from the personal cell phone resting on the kitchen counter. It was not a social media notification. It was a standard text message from an unknown number. The screen lit up with a single, chilling line. The text read, "The account is deleted, but the camera logs remain open." Michelle froze. The digital boundary had shifted, but the watcher had simply moved to a new door. The silence in the room suddenly felt very fragile. She set the mug down, her eyes shifted toward the dark hallway. The real work was just beginning.
Michelle set the cell phone face down on the cool granite kitchen counter. The chilling text preview about the camera logs was left on the screen, its digital threat entirely ignored. She chose not to engage, not to panic, and not to let the invisible watcher dictate her next move. Instead, she turned her back on the glowing screen and filled the copper kettle with cool water. The familiar sound of the tap running grounded her in the physical reality of her Austin home. She placed the kettle on the stove and waited, listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator and the distant chirping of birds outside. The digital noise was completely gone, replaced by the steady, comforting rhythm of her morning routine. Before the water boiled, Michelle walked down the short hallway to the small alcove where the smart home hub rested on a wooden shelf. The tiny green indicator light was blinking rapidly, a silent confirmation that the network was still active. She did not open any applications or check any digital menus. She simply reached behind the plastic casing and pulled the physical power cord directly from the wall outlet. The green light faded to black. The silent eyes of the house were completely blinded. The physical boundary was finally secure, built on tangible reality rather than fragile digital settings. She ran her fingers over the smooth wood of the shelf, feeling the solid presence of her home. When the kettle whistled softly, she poured the hot water over a tea bag in her favorite ceramic mug. The warm steam rose, carrying the soothing scent of chamomile and dried lavender. Michelle wrapped both hands around the mug, letting the heat seep into her palms. She walked slowly to the large window overlooking the backyard. The morning sun illuminated the vibrant green leaves of the old oak tree and the blooming yellow flowers in the garden. The physical safety of her home returned, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. The sanctuary was secure because she had reclaimed her own space and independence. Luke walked into the kitchen, his footsteps soft on the polished hardwood floor. He leaned against the doorframe, watching her with a gentle, reassuring smile. The heavy tension of the past 2 days had completely melted away, leaving only the quiet warmth of the sunlit room. "The garden looks beautiful today," Michelle said, holding her warm mug. Luke smiled, his eyes reflecting the bright morning light. "It always does when the morning sun is out," he replied. She took a slow, deep breath, feeling the last remnants of the digital intrusion fade into nothing. The stalker had demanded her attention, but she had chosen the quiet beauty of her real life. She stood by the window, listening to the gentle rustle of the oak leaves in the morning breeze. The unplugged hub in the hallway remained dark and silent, a physical testament to her absolute control. The warm ceramic mug grounded her hands, and the bright sunlight washed over the polished wooden floor. She was fully present in her Austin home, entirely independent, and completely at peace with the quiet sanctuary she had rebuilt.